Hello and welcome to another session on our introduction to statistics, where we are going to use statistical software named in particular SPSS to run through an example really quick for how to get some descriptive statistics. Now you can make your own data set and then use SPSS, but in the interest of having a realistic, practical example, we're going to use or reference the book Statistics for Data Analysis and Data Analysis for Nursing Research, which made available a study that was done with 1,000 women in a certain low-income community. And they had a whole bunch of surveys and tests done and made this available with their book. So we are just going to demonstrate that, and we are opening the B file of that if you happen to have the book and want to follow along. So we're just going to run through the steps, very simple, to get some descriptive statistics, first of all, and then we'll run a t-test in a little bit as well. So we're going to be interested in the body mass index, for example, and we're going to click at the top here. Let me just pause for a second and get my mouse cursor. I'm going to be right back. That's much better. Now you can see my mouse and see where I'm clicking. Much better. Apologies for that. So we're going to click on Analyze at the top, which I see you cannot see very well. Analyze at the top, then Descriptive Statistics. Then there's a little extra drop down. Then we'll click on Descriptives. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. We're going to look in this example at the body mass index. So we see it over here, BMI. I know this is very small and you might not be able to see it. Look for BMI, your variable of interest, and click on this little arrow to carry it over. Then we're going to just make sure it's going to display everything we want. We're going to click on Options here on the top right. And then make sure we select the mean, standard deviation, whatever else you want. Minimum, maximum, for example. You can select the variance and the range, standard error of the mean, whatever you may want. Kurtosis and skewness indexes as well. And then we'll click on Continue. And then we'll click on OK here. And then we get our output window, which I'll just maximize. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. Maybe there is a way. Maybe over here. Zoom in. There we go. That's a little too much zooming. Maybe like so. And then we can look at this and answer some questions. For example, what is the mean body mass index? The mean score of our variable is over here, 29.2226. We can see the standard deviation there. We can see the standard error of the mean that's used in our comparative distribution, comparison distribution for t-tests, for example. And this is just our basic first step to get some statistics through SPSS. All right, so let's close this. You can close the output window if you want. We don't need to save it. And let's look at something else. Let's suppose we want to just run through a single sample t-test. We can look at a bunch of variables. One of them that was done as a part of this survey to this set of 1,000, the sample of 1,000 women, was the short form health survey, or the SF12. That's a widely used 12-item health status measure. Now there's two subscale scores in this test: the physical health component that we'll focus on, and you can also do a mental health component. And we're going to look at our variable, that is SF12 Phys, for the physical health component subscore. Because those have national norms with a mean of 50, so we can compare our sample against this national average that is already known of 50 on this 12-item scale. So we can have a one-sample t-test and test the null hypothesis if the mean for our population of women, of which this is a sample, is 50 or not. So to run this, we will click on Analyze, then we'll click on Compare means, then we'll click on One Sample T-Test, and we'll get a very small little window again that we can certainly make bigger in size at least. And we're going to look for our variable, which is SF12. Let's see if I can see it here. It is very small. Let's make it even bigger. I see it at the end there, but it's sort of cut off. At the end here, we have the physical health component score. That's the one we're going to focus on. But you can, of course, use many other variables here. We're going to click the arrow, and then that moves it into the test variable window. Now we're going to make sure we select our test value here at the bottom, and we're testing this sample and this variable against a mean of 50 in our null hypothesis. And we're going to click on options just to make sure we also have a confidence interval that we want. For example, a 95% confidence interval is sort of a default here. You can change that, of course, if you want to. We'll click continue there, and then we'll go and click OK. Let me just go to this output window again so that we can zoom in a little bit and see what we found. And we can then see the t-score that we found for our sample is negative 13.469. Our degrees of freedom is 892. And we could set up a hypothesis test. Is the mean equal to 50 or not? So we have a two-tailed test, and it is significant with a p-value less than 0.001. So highly significant. And we also have our confidence intervals here as an alternative to the conclusion of rejecting the null hypothesis. Confidence interval ranges from negative 5.59-ish to negative 4.17. So that means that in a random sampling of this size, 95% of our samples will have a mean in this range. And we see that that is very much different from the difference between our sample and 50. 0 is not included in this interval, so it is definitely supporting the conclusion that we are rejecting the null hypothesis, and we are definitely different in our mean for this population of women, different from 50. So you can run through a single sample t-test like that. Let's go through the steps real quick again, just in case. We'll click on Analyze, Compare Means, One Sample t-test, pick your variable, check what confidence interval you want to show, and what value you're testing it against in your null hypothesis. And it is as simple as that. All right, that is the end for this little session. Just a brief walkthrough of some uses of SPSS, descriptive statistics, as well as a single sample t-test. Until next time.